It was another quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
All right, folks. All right. Good afternoon. Good Monday afternoon. And welcome to the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, 8:30 a.m. We are Radio Central, and you can take us anywhere. That's fantastic. Not only, of course, you can tune in at AM 830 and the dial, but we also stream 24/7 to the TuneIn app like thousands of other radio stations do. So that means you can take us on your device and take us anywhere, and that's a great feature. I love that one. As well as you can tell Alexa to play WCR, and she'll do that. No questions asked. That's pretty cool. Now, I do stream the show today from the WCRN studios in Westboro, so you can watch and listen on the station Facebook page, YouTube channel, as well as my social media platforms, which, of course, is Facebook, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, X, and we do stream live to Rumble. We have our channel there, the Rumble channel on, well, the Joe Mangiacotti channel on Rumble, I should say, more accurately, I guess, is the way that we say that. And we'll mute that out. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available. We'll get you into the studio for two-way talking conversation today. Behind the glass, flying the board today. So he'll get you set up and into the studio. And don't forget, we do have our text line running, and that's easy to do. 617-297-8388. 617-297-8388. We have one sitting here. We need to increase Social Security checks 20% for people getting checks under $1,000 a month. All right, so we'll kick off with Social Security. We can talk about Social Security at some point in here. But look, today, so finish upstream, many ways to listen. Great to do that. Also, the show is a podcast. That means when I get off the air, you can go to Spotify or Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. Listen to it or subscribe. Please subscribe at Spotify or Podbean or whatever. And then you'll be notified when a new episode drops. And don't forget, you can also watch the show. Join the other streamers right now who are watching it on multiple platforms, like I said, Facebook, X, Twitch TV, etc. All right, 508-871-7000. So, today's a big day because it's election day tomorrow. So I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow, but it's time to go to the polls all over the place, of course. We've been covering, or the station has covered quite a bit of the Worcester elections with Hank in the morning. And I know that some of the candidates, we open the lines for them to call in and give a pitch. I'll keep that up. I mean, if there's a candidate who would like to call in at 508-871-7000 and tell us why we should consider you in the Worcester election tomorrow, feel free to do that. That's fine. I'll keep that going.
What's that number?
508-871-7000, baby. You know it. It's the same number. I know it's different than Hank. I know the morning show does use it, but right now you don't call Hank's show. Call the station, 508-871-7000. I'd love to hear from some of these candidates and why people should select you tomorrow. And I guess where you are on the ballot. That will help people, too, because that's a thing. But in the bigger picture, we have been, on my show, really watching the New York race a lot. In a couple of, right, the Minnesota, we've got that situation out there where we got the Somalian that looks very much like I Am the Captain Now guy from Captain Phillips. But what is going on in New York, everybody's watching. Everybody's watching across the country. Because will basically a communist get elected at 34 years old is the biggest city in the United States of America. And somebody brought up the other day on the show about this family party thing. So the brief time looking into that, it's communism with a new title. But we'll get into that. Not right now. We only have an hour right now, and we've got developments here. We also, if you missed it, former President Barack Hussein Obama personally called Zohran Mamdani. He's considered a rising Democratic Socialist candidate, but they always have to say Democratic Socialist, not Democrat. Democrat Socialist candidate. Shouldn't the Democratic Socialist Party have their own party? Have they effectively taken over the Democratic Party? Or is socialist a qualifier now, or just a reminder? Did the Democratic Party become a socialist party? We missed it? Or did you? So if he's a Democratic Socialist, why not run under the Democratic Socialist Party, or create that party? I don't even know if it's a party. Yeah. But why usurp the Democrats? Now, if I had to, and I'm not New York, although I travel there and travel through there a lot, and I'm actually, in the amount of time I do spend in New York and having to, go through New York and, pause there for a day or whatever, I am concerned about being there. And I'm not even living there. So I'm not dealing with defecation outside my door or needles on the sidewalk. It's there, and I deal with it while you're there, but I'm not living there. That's where I don't lay my head at night, with the exception of, the Ritz-Carlton a night or two. Otherwise, I'm not. But what is going on there is concerning when I'm just traveling there. Because I know that if something was to happen and I was to be mugged, assaulted, or whatever, that nothing is going to happen. And I mean, justice isn't going to be followed because of their no bail and just the way they are there. The prosecution, and there's a good chance I might end up on the wrong end of an indictment. That's concerning. It's concerning to people there. So a lot of people are watching this. So Barack Hussein calls basically the socialists. It's a pretty good chance of being elected tomorrow. 30-minute phone call during which Obama praised Mamdani's campaign, telling him, your campaign has been impressive to watch. Has it, though? Because it seems like he won the primary for a combination of those things. What are the things that he won? What are you talking about, Joe? Well, I think he won because primaries, by definition, are reserved for the party members. So that means the active party members are going to be the ones that select the candidate. And this is always the problem. This isn't just New York, just this election. This is across the board, guys, right? Because a lot of us don't pay attention till we're right up in the election. How many, even some of you listening right now, how many we don't really know, either who you're going to vote for till you go to vote, or B, you go in there, and you really don't know that much about each candidate. If you were to get quizzed at the, at the polling place, why are you voting for that person? Oh, some of the reasons you get. I like the name. I got a letter. Knocked on my door. Saw him outside of Shaw's. Whatever. But not many people are going to be say, well, here's his position on, or her position on this, this, and this. I agree with this. I don't agree with that, but I like this at majority of the things. Right? Because you're never, ever, ever going to have a candidate that you agree with 100% unless you're the candidate. It's the only time you're going to agree with the candidate 100%. Right? So you got to think of things that you don't agree with the candidate on 40% of their issues. You got to think of it, I agree with them on 60%. And you got to go with the candidate that best overall represents your position on the issues. So we've got this Zohran on the scene here. And you got Barack Obama saying, I'm impressed with your campaign. Again, I'm saying the campaign. So you got the primary, because it's low voter turnout, active members of the party. So a few percent of the registered Democrats in New York elected this guy. But he's got game on social media. Is that how you put it? He's got game. He's got game on social media. Right? He's out there on these TikToks and things like that. And he's got that presence. So he's able to do this. Now, again, to the low information voter guys, he talks about free buses and freezing your rent and making it affordable in city-run grocery stores, I don't know why that's supposed to be appealing. Because when that was tried in Minneapolis or Minnesota or something, it was tried, and they're out of business.
Don't you also get a Lamborghini?
Of course you do. That's a given. So, how does that work? You're going to have empty shelves. Again, all these younger people have not been taught the failures of communism, the spectacular failing of communism. But you can go find some Cubans right there in New York. You don't have to go to Miami. Plenty of them in New York. Who you can talk to the parents, the grandparents, who took the 90-mile raft journey, who got out of Cuba. Ask them what life was like there. Ask them what the grocery stores look like. Ask them how medical coverage was. Ask them about electricity. Do they have constant electricity? Ask them. Get an idea of how communism works in the practicality, not the college classroom on paper, but how it really works in the real life. We got to take our first break here on the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Stick with us. We'll be back in 2 and 10, folks. All right, folks, welcome back here to the second segment here on the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Radio Central AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation for the time we have left together at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Ted,
Joe,
you had a thought on something?
Yeah, I got a bone to pick with you.
Great.
In the last segment, you spoke of democratic socialist, and I don't think we're going to survive this propaganda campaign if we don't stop using their lexicon and use our own. Let's face it, they're democratic communists. Oh. Democrat communists. That's what they are. I refuse to call them socialists because they're not. But
then again, aren't they just communists? Because does Democrat actually, isn't that an oxymoron, right, to say Democrat communist? I mean, it's not. And again, and I've talked about this over and over again, and I frame it this way that, yes, we're guaranteed the freedom of speech, meaning that we can say whatever we want, regardless of how tasteless it is or crude, short of fire in a crowded theater. But freedom of speech also means you can't be forced to use language you don't want to use. And we've seen this happen, forcing us or trying to force us to stop using the actual technical legal term, illegal alien, as it is in our statute, to undocumented or some other thing. Trying to say it doesn't matter what you know to be true, you have to call a biological male who feels they're a female, you have to call her she, her. Now, you might do that out of courtesy and respect for that person. That's up to you, but I don't think you should be forced to.
You know, another great example of what you're talking about, Joe, is the word vaccine.
Oh, that's another one.
They are not vaccines. No. These are injections.
And they consciously made that decision to call the RHMI thing a vaccine. It's not a vaccine.
It's an injection.
It's dealing directly with the spiking the spike in the protein that actually changes DNA. Vaccine by definition, and I actually had a conversation with a younger friend of mine who graduated, technically a scientist. It's in geology, but still a scientist technically. He had to go Google because I told him this isn't a vaccine. A vaccine by definition, it's dead cells of the virus or the contaminant that they inject into your body that's inert.
Yeah, it has an inoculant present in the injection.
So it can't, it's not alive, so it's not going to hurt you. But what it does do, it makes your immune system, your white blood cells, say this is a foreign thing. What is this? Let me go find out what it is. It examines it and says, okay, we're going to fight this. We know how to fight it now. So that dead tissue or inert tissue or cells they put in creates an immune. That's a vaccine. The jab is not a vaccine, and they made the conscious decision to call it a vaccine because they think you're an idiot and everybody's stupid and they're going to believe what they're told because they felt, and I'm saying they, Fauci et al., that we would accept it easier if it was a vaccine. After all, have we not been conditioned to have dozens of vaccines from birth, right? You new parents, you take your kids to the doctors, and they want to inject multiple vaccines on every visit. And we get vaccines, which some vaccines are fantastic. We should get them, right? We eliminated polio and chickenpox and measles. All healthy, all good ideas. But that doesn't mean anything that they decide to call a vaccine, you should accept it blindly, especially when this was one of the largest frauds committed on not just the American people, but I think worldwide when you get into it. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Mark's been waiting patiently, so let's go to the phones. Hey, Mark, what say you?
Yeah, they finally figured it out that it's not a vaccine. It's a gene therapy, and it alters your DNA. That's what it does. But they ain't going to tell you that.
No, they shut you up if you did, Mark.
Huh?
They shut you up. They banned you. They canceled you. They censored you if you tried to.
Yeah, I'm about to get canceled on multiple platforms from what I understand, but that's okay.
Welcome to that club. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm listening to this guy out of one of your competition out of Boston because I can't stand the other guy around here in the morning. So I listen to the guy in Boston. And he relates a story about this Mamdani. Is that his guy?
Mamdani.
Mamdani. Yeah, whatever. So, he's running for the mayor of New York. And, anybody with half a brain in their heads who had a civics course in junior high school, you listen to this guy and all of his platforms, they're all right out of the Politburo. They're right out of the old Soviet Union, period, end of story. So anyways, this guy, Mamdani, right, he decides that, I guess it was on the mainstream media TV in the greater New York, and he put out a political campaign, come vote for me, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he did it, but it was in Arabic.
Yeah.
And people, let me finish. So the people called in to the station and they commented, was that Mamdani? And they said, yes, it was. They said his Arabic is flawless. He said he's like he was college educated in Mecca, Arabia. He said his, flawless.
Okay.
Whoa. And I'm saying to myself, so they're telling me that this guy is not a communist, and he's ethnically an Indian who was brought up in Uganda, right? But he can speak fluent Arabic like an educated Arab who grew up in Mecca. Who is this guy?
Exactly.
What is this guy? Have a good one, brother.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate the call. Always do appreciate the call. 508-871-7000. Just on that. Yeah, Curtis made a great point at one of the debates that Mamdani's resume could fit on a cocktail napkin. I mean, he basically hasn't really held any kind of job, right? He got him activist and all that. He gets himself elected to the assembly. He misses 50% of the votes, right? Which just, if someone's applying for a job and you're the hiring manager or the owner, manager, whatever it is, and the person in front of you only showed up for work half the time at the previous job, would you be quick to give them the job they're applying for? Just a question. So he doesn't do any bills, he does nothing, he just kind of holds that. Well, he gets into this rent-subsidized housing in New York and all that. And now at 34, he wants you to give him the largest city, just not the largest city in the country. I mean, New York is a world city. It is the capital of capital. And it won't be that long if he gets elected. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let me go to the phones. Mary's waiting patiently. Hey, Mary, what say you?
Hi. First, before I go into what I want to talk about, I was listening to Peter Bluth show on Sunday, in the last half hour, he coughed and then said we have to take a break, and then they played music for the rest of the half hour. Could you say anything that...
Yeah, Peter's fine. He did, just as a funny thing, the poor guy forgot to set the clock back, by the way, and he showed up an hour early Sunday morning.
We talked about that.
Yeah, so he did that, and the last half hour, he felt tired and didn't feel great, so Russ played a little music.
He had a heart attack or whatever and was out for a few weeks.
No, he never had a heart attack. No,
well, he was bringing wood into his house.
And he had more like an angina type of thing opposed to heart attack.
Oh, but I know he has to be careful.
Yeah, and he just wasn't feeling the best, so he said, "Hey, I'm just going to take off early." And Russ said, "No problem," and put some stuff on. But he's all good.
Oh, that's good.
But thank you.
Yeah, and I missed the beginning of the show, so I thought maybe you talked about it then. But
you missed the beginning, Mary.
Shame.
1 o'clock, Mary. 1 o'clock.
I'm late.
I'm looking for you every weekday at 1, man.
No, but Mamdani, I can't say it, Mamdani.
Mom, M-A-M, Mamdani.
Mamdani, yeah. I mean, one thing, a little aside, he got married in this lavish wedding in Uganda.
He had multiple weddings, Mary.
Oh.
He did it in Uganda. He did it back in his family has basically a compound. I mean, they're wealthy parents. And that was going to be my point on this is that, he had this massive wedding and he calls himself Uganda. Remember, his parents happened to be in Uganda when she gave birth and then they went back home. He's not Uganda. I mean, that's like me. I don't know. That would be like you when you had your child, you were in Walmart, so you claim you're part of the Walton family. You were in Uganda. That doesn't make you Uganda. It means that's where mom happened to be when she went into labor. So he's trying to position himself as Uganda and African opposed to Middle Eastern for whatever his reasons are behind that.
And he's very much a Muslim in Middle
East,
right? Never mind this communist baloney.
Very much a Muslim, and some video has leaked in the last few weeks, and I'm not talking age. The guy's 34, so this is an ancient video. This is always, he's 52, and this is when he was 18. No, when he was 30 years old, and covering his face and talking about, we are going to change here. We're taking over, meaning the Muslims. Yes,
Who was saying that?
Mamdani.
But isn't he 34?
He's 34. That's what I'm saying. These videos are a couple of years old. It's not like 20 years ago.
Okay.
Within the last few years, he was talking about your Sharia law in Muslims and taking over and fundamentally changing this country.
Oh, like Obama.
Exactly. And that's why I'm going to get into this. Is a very interesting fact that, Obama calls him for a 30-minute call the other day, telling him that it's impressive. But here's what makes that newsworthy, Mary. It was not a formal endorsement. That's been interesting, right, about the endorsement. Right. So Obama didn't endorse him. Instead, he offered to serve as a sounding board to help Mamdani navigate staffing, policy execution, and the messy business of governance. Wasn't that swell of Barack Hussein? What a guy.
Well, what a guy. Really hurt this country a lot, and he's a dangerous man, I still think. And
yeah.
Anyway, but I shouldn't say, well, he doesn't help our country, let's put it that way. And I don't think he likes that.
Absolutely. I'm against the clock. Did you have another thought, or are you good?
No. And why haven't we seen his wife, Mamdani's wife?
Good question. Let's think about that. Got to take the break. Mary, thank you so much for the call. I'm Joe, and you can join me at 508-871-7000. Back in 2-2, folks. All right, folks, welcome back here. It's the second half of the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, weekday afternoons at 1 o'clock. Hey, except for Friday. The boys come in for the Car Brothers. Great show. And if you have a question about your car or whatever, give them a call. They do a good job. They're sales and service with a couple locations, so check them out. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. And don't forget, we do stream on the TuneIn app 24/7, as well as you can go to WCRN Radio, and we got a replay link there, which means within a minute or two of every show coming off the air, you can go there and click and listen to the show again, playback, or even download an MP3 file onto your device for later on. Or you can just subscribe to the Joe Mangiacotti Show wherever you subscribe for your podcasts. Let's go to the phones. Ken's waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what do you got on your mind today, sir?
Hello, Joe. Just like you and Ted, yes, I am applying the names and labels. And personally, I'm not into the communists. I think that's too much, Cold War era. And those of us who are 50 and older can, very much remember the fear that the communists provided. But it's much easier to define our opponent, particularly Mamdani, as what he unequivocally is, a Marxist. And I think we have to drill that in over and over and over again and think, well, where did he get that? Huh. Well, where does everybody in the United States pretty much get it from?
Yeah, exactly. Hello,
Academia.
Hello, Professor.
What was his father?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
He was a really strident Marxist. Whoa! Just like Obama's dad.
Yeah,
Same
exactly.
thing. Oh,
You're starting to see some parallels there, right?
Oh, gee. Who could have guessed? And I don't use the word Democrat Party anymore. It's out. To me, they're the MMA.
Well, the Democratic Party, never mind of when I was a kid, it's not even the Democratic Party of a few years ago. I think ever since 2008, quite frankly.
MMA stands for Militant Marxist. And what are they really doing these days? They're anarchists on the streets of Portland and Chicago and everywhere they fight the police. They're anarchists, period. And when you say MMA, people get, wait a minute, MMA, aren't they kind of conservative? No.
Yeah. Hey, aren't they going to be on the White House lawn on July 4th? Not that one.
MMA, I'm talking militant Marxist.
Yeah, exactly.
And all of that. And I got a little story to tell you. How did this all come about? Did you happen to know that Manhattan has the greatest concentration of higher educated people in the nation?
Mm-hmm.
Not a coincidence. They're all trained to be Marxists.
But Boston's not that far behind it, too, Ken.
And let me get into the personal. So this weekend, I go off to dinner Saturday night at an upper class type place. I don't think I'd ever have seen this until the last few years was it even possible. So you generally see the upper crust. It wasn't upper, but it was higher level. I mean, a dish was anywhere between $30 to $45, and maybe that in Boston that's average, but New Hampshire that's not.
Yeah, got it.
And I see 7 men walk in to sit at a big table and 1 woman. Now, the men were all in like 20s and 30s, except for an older guy. And then 1 woman. And I'm like, I don't know if I've ever seen that before in this type of an environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I get it. The economy is changing so much. You got the tradespeople are making 6 figures easy.
Yeah.
They're making 6 figures in New Hampshire. Yeah, they can go out to a real nice place. And they've probably been working at least 50, if not 60-plus hours during the week, earning good money. And on a Saturday night, they're celebrating because they can afford it. They don't have the big debts that the college kids have.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. So it was probably Dad's business with a bunch of his workers and, whoever the woman was that was part of the operation. And that's today's economy. Whereas when we were growing up, what did all of our parents say? You got to go to college. You got to go to college.
Yeah, we're conditioned to force that. Yeah, and not only that, right? You can go to college, but for those that were going to gravitate or head towards that trade school, they were lesser than somehow, or not
exactly.
that. And that always kind of amused me, Ken, because if you look at the trades, do you think you can be an idiot and read a blueprint? right? Do you think you can read a blueprint and put a building together based on that? Do you think if you're not that intelligent, you can be a master electrician? So it has nothing to do with intelligence. It just has to do with choosing what you want to do. And my father drilled it into my sisters and I, do whatever makes you happy. He would tell me that all the time. Do whatever you want to do. The money will take care of itself. And pretty much that has worked out.
Now, I got a flip side of this story, too. So my youngest son moved to North Carolina in May, and he comes back for a buddy's wedding. And that was going to be on, I think, Sunday. So he said, we got a pool. And, hey, let's have a pool party Friday night. He's going to invite his college buddy, Bentley, most of them. And you know what? They're not looking as chipper as the guys I saw Saturday night. Bentley grads are like...
saddled with $200,000 debt, you mean?
Yeah.
In a starter home at 8 1/4? You know,
I've heard from my son. Some of them are they're okay with Luigi.
Yeah, that's a scary thing, right? That somehow it was okay because, after all, he just shot a health insurance guy, right? So isn't that okay? They decided that man, father of two, husband, was going to be the poster child for everything wrong with the healthcare system, not the ACA, not Barack Obama's Obamacare. It's going to be this guy who apparently had a reputation for being a pretty decent guy. And this animal just decides to take him out. Cowardly, by the way, shoots him in the back as he's walking down the street to go to a meeting.
But you've got people in their 20s and 30s who are totally indoctrinated with Marxism and heaping with resentment because they thought they had it made.
Yeah.
And the rules of economics have changed, and now AI is coming along. Guess what? A lot of desk jockeys are losing their jobs.
Yeah.
And the guys who have the trades are the ones coming up on the top of the
Well,
heap.
let's face it, Ken, the guys who are going to keep the HVAC working, to keep the IA computers cooled and working, all right? Look, they're building a $500 billion megaplex with its own power plant for the AI, right? Meta. I mean, what do you think? How many people do you think it's going to take to build that complex and then maintain that complex? And then I'm not talking about coders or programmers.
And then, Joe, did you notice what Bill Gates did last week?
Are you talking about the flip-flop on the climate or something else?
And that's a simple explanation. Guess where the money's going? And guess what? We need 3 times the electricity that we needed today.
Right.
And that's not going to fit in the sky falling, or the sun and the wind is going to propel.
And that's the other part of the whole get rid of the fossil fuel vehicles that they never wanted you to dive into, is the fact that if you had that magic wand that Barack Obama talked about many years ago, that you don't have a magic wand to fix the economy, but Trump did it anyway. So say we did have that magic wand and we could turn everybody's vehicle into an electric vehicle, a Tesla overnight. Immediately we would collapse because we don't have the power grid, the power structure to charge, right, millions of cars. And also, they weigh a lot more, Ken. The batteries alone weigh as much as the car. Our bridges all of a sudden are supposed to support multiple tractor trailers with 20-ton battery. It just can't work. Ted,
don't forget that if one of these vehicles catches on fire,
it's not it's a chemical fire.
The fire chiefs have all been told by the federal government,
no water.
Walk away, stand back.
Yep. Water won't do it. There's a chemical reaction taking place, and that you can't put it out with water. And that's why there are tow companies that won't tow electric vehicles. There are garages that won't allow electric vehicles to park in them. And that's because not only if they are on fire, but some of these vehicles will just combust because of a little corrosion, a little water. Like, they'll do it without any warning. So they're not as wonderful as they try to make us believe. We're back to forcing false narratives and information into us, and we got to accept it. They want us to accept it without question.
Again, changing the lexicon to a
green.
Yeah.
Yeah, green. There's nothing, Ken, there's nothing green about an electric car. Where do you think the electricity came that you charged it up from? Probably from a coal plant or diesel. Exactly. It's crazy. And then, whatever. I don't want to get into this. We've covered this before. The battery is toxic. You can't recycle it. The cars are it's horrible for the environment, folks. Ken, we're coming against the clock here. Final thoughts?
Yeah, let's hope there weren't many in Jamaica last week. That would have been disastrous during a hurricane.
Yeah, salt water,
flooding.
Yeah, absolutely. That was tough. There was a lot of damage done there. But all right, that it, Ken?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for the call. Always appreciate it. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. But let's unpack some of this that matters with this call to Mamdani from Barack Hussein. And again, he didn't endorse him. He just said a sounding board. I'll be a sounding board, help you with this messy business of governance. So what is he looking now to be the remote mayor, like he was with Joe Biden as a remote president? But legitimacy without this commitment, that's what that was, right? Obama boasts Mamdani's credibility, but he didn't get himself into a situation to get burned by controversial endorsement. Especially given that Mamdani once publicly criticized Obama back in college for his handling of surveillance and civil liberties. So both for Mamdani's ability to govern and for the National Party watching closely what this means going forward.
Messy business of governance.
It is. All right, we're going to take our final final here in a second on the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show, at AM 830 WCRN. Please join the conversation. Lines open and available, 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. We'll be back in 2 minutes, 2 seconds, folks. All right, folks, welcome back here to the fourth and final segment on the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Don't forget, we do stream it live on our Facebook page, YouTube channel at wow, I threw back to an old radio station, WCRN, because I think we made reference to that earlier, so it was in my head. WCRN 830 AM, 40 years of station. Sometimes they'll get jumbled up there. 508-871-7000. So join the conversation the time that we have left. So anyway, the election's tomorrow. We'll see what happens. He's still leading it, but look, the voter turnout is very high in New York already. The early stuff, which bothers me, that you can vote weeks in advance. I think it should be the voting day. And for those that need to do an absentee, good, fine. We had that system. It worked for many, many, many years perfectly fine until the pandemic screwed all that up. But here, yeah.
I was thinking about the previous segment when you were talking about Mamdani and his multilingual or presenting himself as something that he is not. I have a question. Did he work on Kamala's campaign? I mean, she didn't know whether she was black or Indian.
That's true. He might have the same identity issue as Kamala. Look, he comes from money. The fact that, look, again, you can go to my Facebook page or joemangiashow.com. There's videos of him that has surfaced of saying some pretty crazy stuff. Watch some of the debates. They were interesting. I actually came to like Curtis a little more, Silva. And the voter turnout is very high. And them, look, usually incumbents or people with leads do not like high voter turnout. High voter turnout is unpredictability. Low voter turnout, you kind of can call it because you got the history of the voters, and this is how it works. I've worked on campaigns. I've been the candidate on a campaign. You go back depending on what you're running. Are you running in an election year, off election year, right? So based on all of that, how many cycles you go back, and based on that, you're going to see who's likely to vote. And whether they vote in the primary, but they don't vote in the primary, but they vote in the general. Or do they vote in both? These are all things that you analyze and you look at it. So when you have a low voter turnout and you get your people out, you got a pretty good chance. But when it's high voter turnout, you got the X factor. You don't know which way that's going to move. So could Sowar actually do very well? I mean, if he gets over 25% of the vote, Curtis, that's amazing. I don't think he's ever broke 14 or 15% in his time. But we don't know how that's going to break. And again, just remember, Mamdani got in there with very few, in relation to the population of New York City, very few people actually made him the Democratic nominee. All right, we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I want to get this in it because it's one of these stories and issues that seem to probably not get the attention it should get. It has to do with Secretary Hegseth ending the Chinese access to the DoD cloud systems. Now, Department of Defense, now it's Department of War. But you know what I'm saying. So we're witnessing a moment that's been a long time coming here because Secretary Hegseth announced that the Department of, again, it's War Department now, will no longer allow Chinese nationals to service or manage our military cloud environments. Now, I'm sure your question is mine. We allowed that in the first place? How did that even happen?
What?
His words were simple and strong and overdue. The use of Chinese nationals to service Department of Defense cloud environments is over. Let that sink in. For years, we've known that Chinese-linked entities have been embedded in everything, from our universities, right, to the tech supply chain, and yes, even in defense-related contracts. It's like we invented the fox to guard the hen house.
Joe, you got to add to this the developer that went out and bought one of those robot vacuum cleaners for his apartment.
Yeah.
And because he's a developer, he took it apart and was checking the
As
software
one would do.
and how it worked.
Yeah.
And he found that this robot reports back to a server in China.
Mm-hmm. So the robot is actually mapping out the building, and it can listen, and it can, and there's technology. I mean, the smart water meters, right? They're a lot smarter than you might think they are. You think they're smart because they send the reading, through the internet, but that meter can also determine the number of people in the house. So yes, there's the fact that there are Chinese nationals working on our defense software is crazy. This move marks a very sharp turn in the direction of protecting our data, America's data. Not just the data of soldiers and systems, but the very architecture of our national security. You can't defend a nation whose digital backbone is being monitored or influenced by a foreign adversary. Speaking of which, things are heating up in Venezuela. So I don't know if you've really been paying attention to this, but we've moved another 10,000 troops into the region. We've massed a substantial military presence in the Caribbean, warships, submarines, aircraft, and again, thousands of troops. We have conducted these multiple strikes on vessels, and I love the opponents. Well, there could be fishing. We see the video, and what we see is nothing compared to what the intelligence agency, what the War Department. I mean, we have satellites that can read your license plate, and they're not going to put out to the media for mass consumption the detail of the ships that were bombed, much less the conversations, I should say, that we recorded, or the communication that we're monitoring and intercepted. We're not going to do that because it tips our hand onto the vast intelligence gathering ability that we have. But they know exactly who are on those boats and what they're carrying and who ordered it and what cartel is responsible for it. So we had these multiple strikes on these vessels in the Caribbean involving ships allegedly linked to Venezuelan drug trafficking groups. In these kinetic strikes, that's a new buzzword we're using now, right? Kinetic is just another way of saying very violent military strikes, have resulted in dozens of deaths. Sure. As President Trump says, These were people on their way to bring drugs and fentanyl to kill and get our fighting age population addicted to drugs. So Nicolas Maduro, the president, for those watching and I'm doing air quotes, he's responding in what he thinks is in kind. The government has mobilized troops, key border and coastal zones. They've been holding military drills. They even activated their civilian militia, be their National Guard. Now, China and Russia have criticized U.S. military buildup near Venezuela. First of all, China, and this goes back to Monroe Doctrine and all, why are you in our hemisphere? China should not be. We can't allow it. Look what happened in Panama Canal. Trump put a stop to that. But they're warning of interference, sovereignty violations, and destabilization of the region. Now, here's the thing. Warning of interference. China, you're way over here. Who's interfering with who? You're interfering with our hemisphere. You're interfering with our relationships to these countries. And you're when you get to Venezuela in South America, there's no longer an ocean between us. You're talking about a land bridge that exists from those people to the United States, to our soil. And we cannot let China take over South America. It can't happen. So we've got this. Now, the thing about it is, I was watching and I decided to look up some of this stuff. The force. Maduro has, I mean, he's the guy, you get that one kid from school or whatever, but because he was friends with the cool guy or the football player or whatever, he thought he could be a little more mouthy or disrespectful because he had a friend who would back him up. That's what Maduro reminds me of. Because when you look at what we're looking at for this guy Maduro, he has no concept of the power of the United States military. United States has, 1.3 or so million active personnel? Venezuela has 120,000. We have 800,000 reserve personnel. He has 8,000 formal. We've got, 14,000 military aircraft? He's got 250. Battle tanks? We're almost 5,000. He's got less than 200. Navy ships, including carriers and subs, again, we're pushing 500. He's got 40 or 50 vessels. You're outmatched. You're outgunned. You're outmanned. I don't know what you think you're going to do. And this all comes back to, because you have Mexico's situation. Look, these South American presidents, they're in a tough position because they still operate with lead or money. Take the money or get the lead. Unfortunately, the cartels can own some of these governments in South America. And I got news for you, too. They've infiltrated United States politics as well. I know some of you are clasping your pearls right now, but yes. Look at the number of, look at just the 4 years under Biden and the millions of unchecked, unvetted people have come over. And I'm talking the cartel members, the gang members. And the gangs, these gangs have blessings from certain cartels. We saw apartment buildings taken over in Colorado, right? We saw people being intimidated. People have been kidnapped, ransomed. There's a lot of stories that you don't see in the mainstream media. One of those, by the way, we're out of time. Do you know that we have multiple honor killings in this country on American soil every year? You don't see that in the news either. But, folks, we've got to wrap up the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, reminding you the show is turned into a podcast. It is a podcast wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Spotify or Google Play or what have you. So subscribe and get a new edition when it drops. I'll be back tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel, 1 o'clock here on AM 830 WCRN. But that will wrap it up, folks. Joe out. Have a good day.